Hey, what's good, comic fans? This is Campfire Comics, and we here bringing you a spoiler talk. Guess what? It's finally time to talk about not Fear the Walking Dead. Bump that show. We're moving on to The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 1. You're here with Campfire Rich.
And I'm Campfire Nate, and apparently they knew we were going to talk about zombies in our finale because we said, boy, there's a lot of zombies. That's the most I've ever seen. Well, Walking Dead decided to trump that. And they did it in style. What did you think, Rich?
I thought, what better way to kick off Season 6 than with a canyon slap full of zombies? I mean, this thing opens up, and I'm like, wait. What's going on? Where are they at? Where are these zombies come from? I was just like, mind blown right from the start. It's exactly what you want to open up a season.
Yeah, no, there was a ton of zombies, man. It was crazy because I remember thinking, I mean, at first, like you, the first thing I was like, how did they get there? Why are these zombies here? But, you know, they did a good job of explaining it throughout the show, you know, and how did you like the back and forth, you know, between the black and white, you know, and the color?
It threw me. It threw me at first, but as it went on, I actually loved it just because being a film fan, I love the different styles of storytelling other than just linear. So it basically picks up in the middle. If you were to take this episode truly timeline-wise from beginning to end, it picks up in the middle, and then they flash back to the beginning, and then it just kind of goes in the timeline together until they kind of meet up to finish out the story. And because I like it because it keeps you guessing. You don't know. It's like, well, what is going on? Where are these zombies coming from? Why is Daryl training a thing of zombies? Why they got a zombie parade going down the road? Like you're confused, and so you're paying attention, and it really engaged you and locked you into the episode.
Yeah, no, it was good. I like the black and white. You know, it would have been hard to try to go back and tell what was going on without adding some different kind of you know, feel to it, because I mean, you'd be lost if you watch a show and it was all in color. You'd be like, what in the world is going on? So yeah, I like the black and white. I thought it looked good. You know, it added to the show altogether.
Oh, it did. It was phenomenal. I thought it was brilliant the way it come in like that. During the back and forth, you had this crew that apparently was already part of the city, and they just kind of pop in and come in, and it showed a lot of them, but they really only focused on two of them. I thought they would be more significant than what they were when they was introducing this new crew, and it ended up just, I mean, not being a ton. Is there anything you know about these? I mean, I know you've read the comics. Are they significant characters at all, or
one
what?
Guy, he's a pretty big character in the comics. He's
which guy's this?
This is the dude with the dread and the glasses.
Okay.
He basically in the comics he's kind of like a runner, kind of like Glenn. And he's kind of their go-to when it comes to like getting supplies and stuff. So he has, you know, he's a pretty big significant part of Alexandria beforehand. So they kind of bring him in like he was out on a run, which, you know, kind of fits because that's kind of what he does. So right. You know, I feel like, you know, he's going to be a continual character. Okay. I like the guy that plays him, so he'll have some interesting stuff to come.
Awesome. Well, so we got the new characters that popped in there, and so now we got this plan where we finally kind of caught up a little bit, and I'm glad they explained it. We got this problem we have to deal with, which is a canyon full of walkers, and I was confused, like, where did they come from? They're already blocked off, and so apparently it only started out with a few, and then it's just kind of like a zombie trap. And I'm glad they explained that because you're kind of wondering, like, how did this place, Alexandria, work without these people seeing zombies? Right. And that's why, because all the zombies were getting sucked into this canyon this whole time.
Yeah, no, I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, that's I'm pretty sure that's an original thing there. I don't remember that from the comics. So I like that, you know, like explaining to these people why they've only seen a few zombies. They've never seen waves or hordes of zombies coming. Because if they had been hit by a freaking 1,000 zombies, dude, they'd be done. You know, they don't know how to handle that stuff. So, I mean, you know, we see they can't even handle a few when they come out of the woods. So, I mean, I like that. It fit. Yeah. It seemed realistic, and it wasn't like, you know, absolutely crazy, except for the fact that was a lot of zombies.
That was a lot of zombies. And that nobody had stumbled onto him prior to that, because they didn't go that far. I mean, she did say, like, well, take the dead body out there. We don't ever travel that way. But, whatever, it worked for the story. I enjoyed it. It made this big problem for them to deal with. And now that you got this big problem, I was going to call it the governor. But anyway, the chick, the woman, what's her name? Name starts with a D. Delana or something? Anyway, whatever her name is. She's broken down since her husband's dead. What? What is it?
Deanna.
Okay. Well, now Rick is taking over. He's taking charge, and he ain't taking crap off of nobody. I mean, this episode was almost all about Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, completely about Rick. I mean, you had where he saves the boy in the canyon when they first see him, but then he's just talking smack. He was like, "Don't make it hard on me. You coming back." You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be out here. Like, he's not playing around. He catches those guys trying to conspire against him. He's saying, no, we're not we don't bury killers here. We're going to move them out. Like, he's completely taking charge. So out of all the stuff that happened with Rick, what was your favorite Rick moment that happened in this episode?
I don't know if I could say I have one particular moment. I like the fact that, Deanna's in shock, basically. Her
right.
husband's dead. She technically is still the leader of this community, but Rick's like, I know you're down. I'm stepping up. I'm here. And it's funny because he says it and she's like, what do you think? He's like, I think we should do this. Okay, let's do that.
Let's do it. Yeah.
He's pretty much calling the shot. He's the underboss. She's the figurehead. He's the underboss. He's calling the shots. And, she's the one, there that they all respect. So it's, Rick just, he knows what we need to, what the community needs to do to stay alive. So, I mean, he's crossed over to a new level of just, he's very focused on what he needs to do. He's not really caring about, rough and feathers, making people upset.
No, like, not at all.
What I'm doing, just like he said in the last, in the finale, was like, how many of you do I have to kill to save you? He's pretty much, he's
crossed over.
And he's willing to do whatever it takes, but he knows that these people some of them just don't want to, and he's okay teaching them the hard way.
Yep. Well, speaking of teaching, that might have been maybe my favorite moment was when he was just like, y'all can do it. The zombies come out of the woods when they're digging holes, planting trees. I'm not really sure what they were doing, but he was just like, no, y'all can do it. And the guy's like, help us. He's like, you got to learn somehow. Use your shovels. Don't shoot your gun and go take them out. And then they're all panicking. And then, Rick and crew just goes in, mops them up. And he's just like, I like that because it continues to separate the survivors from the non-survivors really quick. Like, you see exactly how hardened these people are. I thought that was awesome. And that was one of my favorite moments with Rick this episode was how he went about doing that.
I feel like this episode pretty much focused around Rick and Morgan. Like Morgan seeing Rick who he is now. And I even think he said, we'll have to, get used to each other again. Like he remember Rick from the beginning, who was unsure what was going on, hope in his eyes, wanting to find his family, then finding him again and being like, I found him, but it doesn't have to be this way, and he had lost his family. Rick is done a complete spin, and Morgan has seen him in all different stages. So he's having to get used to this new Rick. And I think he fears that he's teetering on going overboard, is what he knows he's a good person. He's like, listen, you can still live in this world without having to go all the way that you're leaning. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's, he just wants to save his friend. He doesn't want him to go over the edge.
Yeah, it's a lot about Rick, and we're not done with that storyline whatsoever. So moving on, they got this problem. They're herding the sheep, which I thought was phenomenal. This whole scene, how they did it with Daniel leading the train of them. They built the wall up. They brought them that close to like the city where they're kind of banging off these cars, banging off this wall. It was a really intense scene. But I liked how they was herding them. They were literally herding them like cattle with Rick out there on the outside. They're shooting guns to bring them back in.
You just need a cowboy and a whip or something, man.
Pretty much, because that's exactly how it was like. You'd have a few strays, and then, man, what do you think about Abraham? Abraham, they didn't show a lot of him, because, again, this episode was about Rick, basically, period, and how he's taking over. But Abraham, dude, he jumped out, he's running around, he's screaming, he's punching him in the face, he's waving, like, I don't know, tinfoil or something. And I laughed. Man, I was cracking up. Abraham just jumped in the car. He's cracking up. He was like, had to hurt him back. So it was Abraham, the sheepdog out there.
Yeah, Abraham
handling business.
Seems like he's, there's a few moments in the show where they focused on him in particular. I think maybe Abraham's getting a little. He's having some issues of his own. He seems like he's jumping into danger
definitely.
real quick. Kind of like how Sasha did last season, where she was just like, first one to go. Like is it because he's given up, or is it because he doesn't know what else to do? You know what I'm saying? So I think we're going to be focusing on him a little bit more this season too.
Yeah, we'll get some more. Well, as I heard, okay, you got Rick, and again, back to Rick. He takes his dude. So the dude gets bit. They set it up for the dude. He's like, he's not a fighter. He's not a survivor. You get Rick even saying, he was like, I wanted to kill this dude back when he found him plotting against him. He's like, I wanted to kill him because what stupid thing is he going to do next to ruin this whole thing? He shouldn't have survived. Rick's almost annoyed at the fact that weak people are still alive in this world that we live in, because only the strong should be here.
And it was almost,
you haven't had to fight anything.
Right, and it was prophetic the way he said. I mean, he's like, man, this guy's going to get killed. And sure enough, he does. I mean, he knows. I mean, what you saw, the character was pretty much in there to prove a point. He only had one episode, and it was by someone who's actually, a pretty good actor, so it was funny. But he was in there for one episid to pretty much just show that how far away they are from being where our main group is. And I mean, even when he got bit, dude, he was screaming like a stuck pig, man. Like,
he wouldn't. He
wouldn't
like, stop.
Quiet. I mean, he was just like, he was trying to keep him quiet, and finally, the only way to do it, which was eventually, was just to put him down, man, like an animal, basically.
Yep, put him down.
Unfortunately for Rick, every single time he puts someone down, Morgan's standing right there, like his conscience on his shoulder. He might as well be sitting up here, wearing an angel outfit, like, Rick, why are you doing that, man?
Well, it's always, they've always put him in a situation where it always has to be Rick to put somebody down. And the more he's putting people down, you see, before, you've seen Rick go off and do what he has to do and kill people he has to kill, but he's always, like, hated that he had to do it. Yeah. Now he's, like, no conscious, doesn't even care. Ice cold, put him in the head, he goes back to barking orders. Yo, Michonne, take point, Morgan, go back, let him know what's going on, then you know what's happening. It's working.
Right. And I think that's, I think that's what Morgan sees. He sees Rick as that moment where he'd do something bad, he'd be like, man, I hate I did that, but now we got to pick ourselves back up. That just that little moment where he's not seeing it. He's like, man, Rick's just full blown, like, do it and move on. And I think that little bit of humanity that's in between is what Morgan sees that he needs more of, to keep him from going full blown crazy. Going to that whole other side. What are you willing to do? So,
well, so they have all that, and I'm wanting to watch this episode. Like, I'm just wanting to keep going. I'm like, I'm completely sucked into this episode, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? It's working. I'm excited. Rick's got this plan. He's bringing the rest of the people together. They're getting on board. They got the zombies away, and then a freaking horn starts going off. I'm like, what happened? And, like, my heart started beating really fast. I'm like, who is honking this horn? So now all these zombies, they had the plan working, every single one of them. They're not trapped no more. They're not blocked. And they all heading straight for Alexandria.
Yeah. And
who is honking the horn?
I mean,
that's the question that we got for y'all out there today. And I'm going to ask Nate right now. Nate, who do you think is honking that horn?
I'm going to throw up 3 possibilities because it's hard for me to...
Oh, you cheating. You're going to name everybody. Go ahead.
Either it's the wolves that we've been teased about, or it could be the boy who's pissed off at Rick. Obviously, he's got some issues. Or I think it could be a completely just random accidental thing. A tree could have fallen down and landed on a car horn. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, that's a horn from Alexander. Like, that's like an alert horn, I think.
It sounds like a blowhorn, like someone standing
there. I think it's intentional. I think it's that boy. I think it's the boy, and if it ain't the boy and they want to throw us through the loop, then it's Deanna, and she's done flipped the script, and she's like, whatever, which I think that's far-fetched. The likely answer is
I guess it really boils down
the
to
boy.
Is the horn intentional or non-intentional? That's
I think it's intentional. I think it's intentional.
I think it probably is too, but I could see him going the other way. But I guess we'll find out here in about 7 days.
Yeah, I guess we will find out in 7 days, and I can't wait for those 7 days. I'm ready to watch this next episode right now. And speaking of the next episode, if you saw, like, these zombies are about to take over this town, and to go back to Rick's point earlier on in the show where he was saying, you know, the weak should be dead, the weak are about to die. You know, we're about to see who the strong are, and only the strong are going to come out of this, you know, thing is going to go. And I'm glad that we're getting away from this people versus people, because we've had the governor, we've had Terminus, we've had the governor again. And for the past several seasons, it's basically been people versus people with zombies in the background. And I'm glad that right now it's basically bringing the zombies way back to the forefront. And that's what we're going to focus on and get this horror feeling of just straight survival. And I'm pumped for that, and I'm glad it's going to happen. So, guys, that's really all we got for a spoiler talk. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode as much as we did. Like, comment, subscribe, and get in the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at ComfiRich. You can follow Nate at ComfireNate. And let us know, who do you think is blowing that horn, and who do you think the next is going to die is? Until next time, people, we out.